Welcome to the Dirty Lazy Girl podcast. I'm Stephanie Laska, best-selling author and creator of Dirty Lazy Keto.
And I'm Tamara Snezik, professor of sociology. We believe there are many paths, often unconventional, to achieve your goals. But we get stuck thinking we have to follow experts and fixed set of rules.
Well, as the leader of the Dirty Lazy Keto Facebook support group with over 200,000 members, I see people are hungry for a fresh approach, not just for weight loss, but to help live their very best life. Season 2 of the Dirty Lazy Girl podcast will provide lifestyle advice, lots of fun support, and practical tips to help you at home. Because you know what? You don't have to be perfect to be successful. Join us. Losing weight doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. If you are trying to lose weight for the year 2020, let me help you and be your guide. Check out my new book, The Dirty Lazy Keto Cookbook, Bend the Rules to Lose the Weight. Available in stores everywhere on January 7th, and links to order at dirtylazyketo.com/books. So today's episode, I want to tell you a little story. We're talking about starting over. And oh my gosh, I think the worst story I have is probably about 20 years ago. I know this is sad, 20 years ago. 20 years ago.
You were 3 years old.
I was like 1.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm sure I'm not alone. But I had lost a bunch of weight on Weight Watchers. I mean, who hasn't been to Weight Watchers, right?
Me.
Everybody.
Like
Hello.
5 times.
But of course, things happened. I ended up getting pretty sick with something. You know what? And then I just started feeling sorry for myself. I started gaining back some of the weight. But here's the clincher. I got so embarrassed and so ashamed of myself that I never went back again. Not even once. Never went to a meeting. Never even. Just done. Quit. So what's the big deal? I mean, why is starting over so difficult? I just want our listeners to know that I get it. I understand that starting over is probably the hardest obstacle in your way. It might even be the biggest hurdle that you have to overcome in 2020. That's why we chose starting over as our very first topic for season 2 of Dirty Lazy Girl.
Yeah, we just had the new year, and it represents an opportunity for new beginnings and fresh start. It's all about, hey, let's leave the old behind and then usher in the new. And a dirty lazy girl doesn't want to just follow the crowd and get stuck in a rut. So we want to examine ourselves all the time, looking to see how we could make our life better.
I just heard Dr. Phil in a podcast yesterday. Mm-hmm. Remember Dr. Phil?
Yes.
From the 1980s?
Yes.
He said, if you learn from it, it's tuition.
Oh, wow.
And I think what he meant to say is that failure can be a really good teacher.
I like the education metaphor.
I thought it was very appropriate for today.
Well, my favorite quote is by Mandy Hale. Change can be scary, but you know what's scarier? Allowing fear to stop you from growing, evolving, and progressing. Yeah.
Has that ever applied to you?
Well, okay. The most recent, I guess you call it starting over moment for me, was when my son went off to college. I still have one kid at home, but she's, entering high school soon. And so it's really just a matter of time before, and she's already very independent and not home a lot. So it was at that moment as we're dropping him off at college that I realized, I'm facing a kind of a starting over moment. My life isn't going to revolve around my kids anymore. And it's like, what am I going to do with myself? I mean, how am I going to embrace this new way of being? So mine wasn't necessarily as a result of a failure, like I failed on something. I was more like I was just forced to, to find a new way of doing things.
Well, starting over applies to many, many areas,
right.
Kind of like what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know a lot of our listeners are thinking about losing weight because, they're coming from our Dirty Lazy Keto support group. But
Right.
really, it applies to a lot of different areas of our life.
A ton of things. I mean, you could be in a toxic relationship and trying to get out and restart a new relationship.
That could be as simple as rebuilding your finances, maybe after like a blowout. You haven't saved for college or retirement.
Exactly. And like at my job, I see a lot of people going back to school or to high school and restarting your education.
Yep. I even know some people are thinking about a new career maybe next year,
Yeah.
a new job change.
Yeah. Or a promotion. It could be committing to a new exercise challenge, like a triathlon.
Hey, we heard about you doing that.
Yeah, or some other kind of a new healthy lifestyle, like if you're diabetic and you have to follow a diabetic diet, or some new healthy living.
Right. Well, certainly we want to address all of these issues because this is a life skill we're talking about.
Yeah.
You may be starting again with Dirty Lazy Keto, but you might also just be having a huge life change.
Yeah.
And we want this to be a podcast that helps you in all areas of your life, not just dieting.
Yes. And because starting over is super hard, Stephanie, like really hard.
Why is that? What's your opinion?
I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of us avoid it because of that. I think partly because it brings out emotions you don't want to deal with. I mean, like when my son left, I had to face the fact that a lot of my life did revolve around my kids. And it's like, wait, I
Like you didn't expect that.
I know. I thought I was this independent career woman, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, a lot of my energy does go into my kids. So that was a feeling that I didn't necessarily like, or I wasn't really sure what to make of that. But it's the same. Like if you're in a relationship, you have to really look hard at, your mistakes.
Well, I want to acknowledge to our listeners that we are likely not going to fix this in a 30-minute podcast episode.
Yeah.
Okay, these are emotionally charged topics,
Mm-hmm.
the ones we mentioned, and maybe more you're thinking of. I mean, I want you guys to know that I just finished a book this weekend. It was 300 pages, 90,000 words, thank you.
Wow.
But it probably took me 2 or 3 years, and I'm exploring these topics and more, and basically... the book title is going to be Dirty Lazy Keto, Get Started Losing Weight While Breaking the Rules. It'll be out in May. But I just think this podcast is going to scratch the surface.
Yeah.
This is a big deal. And I don't have it all figured out.
No.
I have some things figured out. And I'm sure you do too, Tamara.
Yeah.
But it's like we're scratching the surface.
Yes. And because we're all different, which is one of the themes of our podcast, is that, not everyone's the same and we don't all follow the same rules, but it makes it more difficult to tackle when there's not an exact set of rules to follow.
Right. But we do have some guidelines for you.
Okay.
We put this together based on our experiences of overcoming problems and overcoming challenges. And for Tamara and I, what we have found to be very helpful for overcoming our goals and getting started again. So we want to tell you about 6 dirty, lazy girl steps that will guide you in the right direction.
Okay. Well, let's start with step 1.
I like it.
I think this is one of the hardest ones.
You kind of touched on this earlier.
Yeah.
This could be like a whole 10-hour episode.
I know. And I think if you get past actually step 1 and step 2, it's a lot easier. So these are the hard ones.
This is the avalanche. You have to start at the top.
So the first one is to acknowledge your emotions. And a lot of people don't do that. And it's a wrong move. Because if you're not acknowledging your past and why you got in the situation in the first place that you need the change for, then you're going to just make the same mistakes again. So you got to acknowledge that you're scared, because all change is like frightening, that it's uncertain, that you're going to go in and you're not going to know exactly what's going to happen. So you just have to acknowledge all those feelings, regret, sadness, or loss from the past, whatever it is.
Yeah, you're right. I think our listeners sometimes wallow in this area.
Yeah.
I know that you said some people don't want to acknowledge it at all, but there's also a camp of people who fall into a swimming pool of it.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is I notice, especially in the Dirty Lazy Keto support group, people will take a break from dieting or maybe some kind of a self-appointed cheat day.
Yeah.
But I notice that some of them, when they come back, they just fall into this pool of shame and guilt.
Yes.
They self-criticize. They use horrible language to describe their behavior. They use words like coulda, shoulda, woulda, just really self-loathing behavior. And they seem to get stuck in this stage 1.
Yeah.
I've noticed that.
I've done that on diets many times.
I think everyone has.
And in fact, the shame stops me from starting over, for sure.
That's why I was telling you earlier about that story with Weight Watchers when I was in my 20s. is I never went back. And we're talking about like 5 or 10 pounds. And I quit it forever.
Oh, yeah. And I've started and restarted there like 2 or 3 times. And I call it the walk of shame.
It's horrifying.
When you're going back and it's embarrassing. Like,
I would rather just give up and never deal with it again than feel that embarrassment.
Yeah. And we got to get past that. And part of getting past that, the first step is acknowledging it. Okay, I feel shame. I'm embarrassed. I feel that. But not, like you said, dive in and swim in there and stay there.
Okay, so how do you get out of it? What's step 2? We're making it sound all easy. We're like, yeah, just move on.
Okay, so
what do you do next?
So you have to identify what's holding you back.
Oh, like what do you need to get started?
Yeah, I think so. So acknowledge your emotions.
Okay.
Don't stay there. And then the next question is, okay, what's holding you back and what do I need to get started? Like, what are the concrete things? What do I do first? What do I do second?
So, like, can you tell me how that applied to your life? Because I feel confused. Tell me more. Well, I like where you're going with this.
Yeah, well, when I, went to get my PhD, I got my bachelor's degree, but it's like starting over. You don't know what you're getting into.
Uh-huh.
And, it's just like any big thing that you start, you have to... You should know there's concrete steps to follow. You have to, when are the deadlines to apply? How do I apply for financial aid? How do I get my transcripts sent? How many transcripts do they need? All those things, those little details that you should start diving into, especially if it's an unknown area.
I like what you're saying. Mm-hmm. So basically, instead of just wallowing in the emotions and feeling sad or even acknowledging it, you're saying make like a plan of attack.
Yes.
Well, I have to tell you, I think I may have been needing this help. Because, Tamara, the last, I'd say probably 2 weeks, I have been kind of falling off the wagon a little bit with my night eating.
Oh.
I'm just going to tell you the truth.
Yeah, okay.
Because normally I don't eat at night. Like, for years, I've made that a rule to not eat after dinner. I feel all embarrassed talking about it.
First of all,
my face is turning red,
I can't
Tamara.
do that. I can't not eat at night. I'm sorry.
Well, I've been cooking for my cookbook, so I feel like that's a good reason to cook at night.
Yeah.
And then I gotta try things,
right?
Because I gotta make I gotta make sure they taste good.
Yeah.
I'm all rationalizing.
So that got you started eating at night.
Okay, so I start a little tasting here and there, and then a little snack. And Tamara, I'm probably up 5 pounds.
Oh wow!
But you know what? I feel bad about myself.
Yeah, but which is, we are acknowledging it, right?
I'm acknowledging. Yeah, I have been feeling bad about myself. Like, I'm a fraud. Like, oh my gosh, I told everybody I don't eat at night.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for 2 weeks. I'm up 5 pounds.
Yeah.
I think I need to follow step 2 and get started what I need to get back on track.
Okay, so what do you need to do? Like, do you need to change the time you do those recipes?
You're so smart. Duh. No, that's brilliant.
Or maybe
do it during the day, do it during the weekend, or you know what? Have my kids test it. No, that won't work.
No,
but you're right. I don't need to be eating the whole portion. I can try it.
Yeah.
I know what to do. It's just a matter of getting started, getting back on the scale.
Yeah.
Cutting back on what I'm tasting, not turning it into a full meal.
Yeah, and just like you said, so find out the little steps that you can take to get you back on track. You know what they are.
I know what they are.
Say them out loud.
I'm going to say them out loud. Yeah. I'm going to start my cooking a little earlier.
Yeah.
Do it all before dinner, or make it for dinner. Hello.
Uh-huh.
I don't need to be making 2 dinners.
Exactly.
So
there you go. Solved.
Done. Step 2, check.
I think avoidance is what happens when you get in the emotions, you're swimming in the emotions, and you avoid getting out of it. Starting to force yourself to think about ways to get out of it is the way out of the pool.
That's it.
Yeah.
You cannot avoid it at all. You have to face it. Like, if you're in debt, open up that credit card bill.
Oh,
girl,
that's so
find
hard.
out how much you owe. Like, find out what the information is. Get on the scale, write it down.
As hard as it is. Getting on the scale sometimes is so hard.
But you got to just do it. It's never as hard as you think it will be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what about step 3? It sounds like you and I are both on the same page about the importance of being positive.
I think focusing on the positive is the next step there, because all along the process, it's easy to get sucked back into, this is overwhelming, this is stressful, I'm worried, it's uncertain. So you have to consciously make sure you're focusing on because they're really good positives when you make a change, right?
And failure, I think, is our biggest teacher.
Yeah.
It's all about kind of reframing it.
Yes.
I mean, I know everyone always says, like, oh, you watch a baby learning to walk and they fall down.
Yeah.
Duh. They have to learn that, right? And we don't, yell at them, like, oh, bad baby, you fell over. You don't know how to walk. We're the same way. As adults, we need to stumble and fall down in order to learn how to get back up again.
Yeah.
And be positive and encouragement.
Yes, exactly. I know when I started, I got a promotion at work, which was a new start for me and a new, direction. I really made the mistake of focusing on the negative. I was so overwhelmed by the new duties, the new responsibilities, the weight of things on my shoulder. And I look back now and there were so many positives to it also. Like, I had a better schedule. I got relief from my teaching for a while. And, so I had a flexible work schedule. I was like, why wasn't I focusing on those things?
So the positive parts of it.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope our readers take that away for step 3, to be positive and not punish themselves. Avoid that self-talk. Mm-hmm. If you gain a couple of pounds like I did with all my extra cooking, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm not going to send myself to the gym for 4 hours, and I'm not going to starve myself as punishment. I'm going to positively admit I know what to do and then take steps to move forward.
Yes. And, so you gained a couple pounds or you messed up over the holidays it does you no good to linger on it and beat yourself up. Absolutely. In fact, it has the opposite effect.
It really does. And you and I, we know the value of resources. We have the support we need.
Yeah.
You work in a great university.
Yeah.
You can reach out to your peers for help.
Yeah.
We're both part of the support group online.
Yeah.
And many of us have friends and family that are supportive and there for us to get through financial problems or relationship issues. You don't have to go in it alone.
No. And that was our step 4. Gather your resources and support.
I had moved on.
Yeah, I was just clarifying that was step 4.
Professor, we are on fire today.
I know.
I'm teasing. Well, you do step 5 then.
Okay, so that is an actual plan of attack. So earlier we talked about being positive, and deciding what's holding us back. But then have an outline of the steps with some deadlines. And we've talked about this we've talked about this in other episodes, and you can reference those, like taking baby steps, not too big, making them realistic, and also keeping the bigger goal in mind. Those are all things we've said in past podcasts, but are totally relevant to this as well.
I like that.
Yeah.
Make a plan.
Make a plan.
And be accountable.
And be accountable.
But Tamara, there's no rush. Sometimes you have to go at a pace that's right for you.
Yes.
And that's step 6.
Yes.
Sometimes making a fresh start doesn't mean you have to change everything all at once. No. Especially if you don't want to.
No, and if you're a more cautious person, you that's too much for you.
Yep. And like you were saying about the cooking, like I work a full-time job, so it's probably not realistic for me to start cooking earlier. Like for my cookbook, for example. So I need to think, well, I'm going to change my behavior, but I'm going to work at a pace that's right for me and maybe do my cooking on the weekends. Yeah. Or just not taste as much of the recipes.
Yeah. Or just set a limit.
Set a limit. Like a couple of tastes, but not like 4 bowls. Which, let's be honest, sometimes it's really good food. And I'm
you made something good.
I'm going to eat it all.
I know. You sent me a picture of a delicious recipe, and like my mouth was
I know. I came home from work the next day to eat them, and my husband had eaten all the leftovers. I was so mad. Anyway, what's step 7?
Okay, well, that's our final step, which is to enjoy your fresh start. And this is kind of goes along with maintaining the positivity. Like, this is something we don't do. It's like, acknowledge that you made this change and enjoy it and say, I did this thing. Brag about it. Give yourself a treat. Whatever it is that makes you mindful of the fact that you did this good thing, you took this big step. I mean, that's the part people leave out, and it's a shame because it just reinforces your good behavior.
And I struggle with that one. I know that's funny, but
no,
I always feel like I'm going to jinx it. I'll be honest. Yeah, I really do. I'm so afraid of celebrating some of my accomplishments that I always fear it'll make it worse, or it'll blow up, or it was like magical and it'll poof away.
Yeah.
Isn't that silly?
It is silly because then you're missing out on a moment, because if you think back, of the regrets in your life, you'll regret not not celebrating your successes, really.
You're right. You're right. And I know we've joked about that in the past. Like, you'll see a picture of yourself when you were young.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, and you remember in the picture feeling like, oh, I didn't look good or whatever. Yeah. But really, you looked fabulous.
You look great, and I'm glad people forced me to take a picture.
Yeah, we talked about that in our taking picture episode.
We certainly did.
So don't be humble, don't be shy, enjoy your fresh start, celebrate your accomplishments. You're not going to jinx yourself.
No.
And your real family and friends, they won't sabotage you. They will celebrate you.
They will. So listeners, have you had experience with starting over? We'd love to hear your reflections and advice on starting over. Send us your thoughts to Stephanie@DirtyLazyKeto.com or via Facebook or Instagram @DirtyLazyKeto. You can also call us at 802-58-KETO6. That's 802-585-3866. Your comment or question could be featured on an upcoming episode. And listeners, do you have a business you'd like to have advertised on our podcast? Let's talk. Get in touch for more information.
Well, before we get to our final hacks, Tamara, I'm going to share a final break. Just as a reminder, losing weight doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. I am known for saving money. I am a cheap person. Let me tell you. And I break down a very affordable grocery list to help you make 100 delicious meals, which are all 10 net carbs or less, in my new book, The Dirty Lazy Keto Cookbook, Bend the Rules to Lose the Weight. It is available in stores starting January 7th. Links to order at dirtylazyketo.com/books.
Now for our Dirty Lazy hacks for starting over.
Well, here is something I want to shout from the rooftops.
Okay.
Oh, there is a tendency to overreact, I think, when we all screw up.
Yeah.
You're not alone. I understand if you gained 5 pounds over the holiday, or, you went crazy on the credit card bills or something, serious like that. But please don't overreact. Just do a miniature, teeny tiny course correction. And what I want to say about this is for all the listeners who are out there, trying to punish themselves by doing an egg fast or, working out for hours or even these 30-day things where they can't have things. I just feel like some of these are rash. I feel like they might be overwhelming and maybe even unrealistic. Mm-hmm. And I'm certain I might get some hate mail for coming out and saying this, but it's my truth. And I believe part of what's helped me be successful and keep my weight off for, we're talking about like 7 years. Yeah. That is a long time. Yeah. Hardly anybody gets to do that. Most people gain it back. And I feel like this is why I don't do crazy, overreactive punishments if I make a mistake. So please, I hope you take some of our advice today. Yeah. Course correct, much smaller. Eat some celery for your next snack. Turn off the TV and go for a walk. Small, kind decisions will get you farther in the long run. Yep. And that is it.
And research supports you on that, by the way. Small changes are longer lasting.
It really works. Yeah. I'm not lying. It's not pretty.
I know.
It's not sexy, but it's the truth.
Well, my hack is if you're stressed and worried, which inevitably will happen when you make a change. It's worrisome. And some of you who are worriers are going to really struggle with this. So my hack is one to help you with the worry. What I recommend, and I've heard psychologists recommend this as well, is to actually set aside a worry time. So a specific time. It could be once a day or once a week, depending on how often you need it. And so, you say to yourself, okay, during this 20-minute period, I am just going to worry my head off and just in my mind let myself go crazy worrying about it, and then I'm going to stop, so that you limit your worrying, and then it doesn't spill over. And it does help. I've heard other people do that too, like they journal it, and they'll journal for, like a page a night or something about their worries, and then put it to rest. And actually, it helps you with a cutoff time. It does help your mind shut it down.
That's very practical and realistic.
It works. It does. It works. Try it.
Well, listeners, our big message today, in case we didn't beat you over the head with it, we want you to know that starting over after a mishap, it does not have to be discouraging or self-defeating. Every moment is a chance to begin again and get yourself back on track. I want to tell you, you are worth it. And I'll say that again. Mm-hmm. You are worth it. We absolutely believe that you are capable of achieving your goals. The aim of the Dirty Lazy Girl podcast is to support you with every step of your journey. Just remember, folks, you don't have to be perfect to be successful. You can do it. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dirty Lazy Girl podcast.
And don't forget to visit dirtylazyketo.com, where you can join the conversation and gain access to all kinds of free content to help you on your dirty lazy journey.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, consider supporting us by subscribing, rating, and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts.
Be sure to stay tuned for our next Dirty Lazy Girl podcast, where we give you even more tips and support.
You don't have to be perfect to be successful.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.